Today I'll be building this traditional saw bench. It's made entirely from construction grade pine, using dovetails, lap joints and pegged mortise and tenons. First I grab some wood from the lumber rack, then I can take it to my bench and begin measuring and marking. Now that it's been marked, I can cut it to length using a bench hook. This will ensure that I get 90-degree cuts on the pieces. This piece has a twist and a rock in it, so I use an old jointer's plane to flatten it out. Next it was time to joint the edge. I did this using the same jointer's plane. Time for the joinery. I started by using a marking gauge to mark out the width and size of my tenons. I cut the shoulders of the tenon using the bench hook so I have nice 90-degree shoulders to the joint. When cutting the tenon cheeks, my saw fit right into the marking gauge line. I cut diagonally on one side before flipping the piece around. This ensures that I also get a straight cut all the way to the shoulder. Afterwards, you can tidy up the tenon with a chisel or with a router plane if you have one. To connect the top to the legs, I will be using dovetails. It's a strong, sturdy joint that will hold things together nicely. Just like when I was cutting a tenon, I use my chisel to pare back to my marking line so that I have 90-degree shoulders. To remove the waste, I use a coping saw. This goes pretty fast and then I can just clean up the rest with my chisel. When marking the pins, I prefer to use a marking knife. This gives like a solid registration point for the saw. When removing the waste, I always go from 50% one side and then flip the piece over. This reduces the chances that you will blow out the line. To make the feet of the bench, I planed down two boards and glued them together. This will give me enough space to add a mortise for the tenons I made earlier. I clamp up the pieces and leave them to dry for a few hours. I used a wooden jointer plane to remove the glue and plane one edge square. To do the mortise, I find the easiest way and the fastest way is just to drill it out using a fork and a bit in my drill. After the drilling is done, I use a chisel to square up the edges and also remove the waste material. I wanted the feet of the bench to have an angle on it. I could have done this with a saw, but I found it to be more fun with the chisel and a hand plane. For the lap joint, I cut down the side before adding several release cuts. This will make it easy to clear up the waste with a chisel later. Now it's just the satisfying part of popping out all the material and cleaning it up with a few pairing cuts. With the joinery complete, I moved on to the glue up. There was quite a few pieces to put together, so I had to work quite fast before the glue started to set. The dovetails needed a bit of persuasion, but that's nothing that a mallet couldn't fix. Next, I used some wooden dowels to lock the tenons in place. Using a Japanese Ryoba Saw, I cut the stretchers flush. And I also added wooden dowels to the stretchers to secure them too. For a protective finish, I added some homemade paste wax, which is mineral oil and beeswax. It makes it a lot easier having a saw bench rather than clamping it to the bench or cutting it in the vise, because I can put all my weight down on the piece. The height of the bench really helps a lot too. It's just under my kneecap, so it makes this really comfortable to cut.